Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I would like to call to order the June 28th meeting of the State Allocation Board. Please call the roll.
Certainly. Senator Allen, Senator Nguyen, Senator Pan, Assemblymember Nazarian, Assemblymember Chavez, here. Assemblymember O'Donnell, here. Juan Morales, here. Cesar Diaz, Jeffrey McGuire, here. Arena Ortega.
Here.
We have a quorum.
And if you could please call Senator Nguyen. Will do.
Senator Nguyen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're just right as we get started. So my plan is to move through these items as quickly as we can. There are many of the members who need to be at other hearings and meetings, and we will leave the items open to let the other senators add on should they join us later in the meeting. So let's start quickly with the action items. We'll take up under tab 2 the minutes from the June 5th meeting. Any comments, questions? Motion? Moved and seconded. Any comments on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. 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 And I think the next action item is under tab 5. Is that right, Lisa? Am
Yes.
I on track here?
We have to do.
This is the item on the regulatory amendments for the program accountability.
Correct. So we wanted to grab your attention on page 22. We wanted to bring back the conforming regulations, grant agreement amendments that we had discussed last month and reflect that into the new grant agreement template in attachment 2. Attachment 1 does reflect the strikeouts and the amendments, but we also wanted to update the language relating to the trailer bill language, and that was actually signed yesterday by the governor, so that is in effect as well. And so those amendments are reflected in the amended grant agreement. And so on page 23, it's a short summary of the amendments related to the grant agreement. And at this time, we're asking the board to adopt the amendment on attachment 2 and file that on an emergency basis.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments on the staff report? Okay, moved by Mr. O'Donnell, second by Mr. Chavez. Any public comment on this item? Okay, seeing none, please call the roll.
Senator Allen.
We're on item 5, the regulatory amendments update.
Okay. Senator Nguyen. Assemblymember Nazarian. Okay. Assemblymember Chavez. Aye. Assemblymember O'Donnell. Aye. Juan Morales. Aye. Jeffrey McGuire. Aye. And Arena Ortega.
Aye. And
the motion carries.
We'll leave that item open for the other 2 members. We'll move to the regulatory amendments for the Financial Hardship Program.
So we have before you amendments to the regulations for the Financial Hardship Program. For districts applying for assistance with their local match, the current process requires them to submit documents for a financial hardship approval in advance of submitting a funding application. These regulations would reverse that order and allow districts to submit a funding application, indicate that they want financial hardship, and then when OPSC is ready to process, we would request the financial hardship information and do the review at that time. We believe this will streamline the process and ensure that the financial information is relevant to the time in which we're processing the application. So we have some regulations included that outline that change and the timelines, and that we would notify districts in advance of processing the application so that they're prepared to submit the documents.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on the staff report? Okay, I don't see any. Any public comment on this item? All right, do we have a motion? Moved by Mr. Nazarian, second by Mr. Chavez. Let's see if we can say all in favor, say aye. 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 Okay. Everyone present voting aye. We'll leave that open for Senator Pan and Mr. Diaz. Tab 6 is the informational item.
Yes, we have a report for the board. After the June 5th meeting, we got a number of questions from school districts and stakeholders about what the board's action on the projects on the acknowledged list moving forward to the work list meant for the processing. So in this report, we have outlined at a high level what the board did a few weeks ago And then we also touched on some of the main points in our processing process. So we wanted to remind folks that under the new process, we will be going forward with the applications for new construction funding applications. Districts will need to update their enrollment for the current enrollment year, which is 16-17, and for the year in which we're processing as we move forward. We also wanted to let folks know that we will be processing the funding applications and eligibility associated with the funding applications. Small school districts have one component in statute that we wanted to address. We got a number of questions on this in the last few weeks. When small school districts establish or update their new construction eligibility, they are not to be subject to a decrease for 3 years from the date of the board approval. So there was some concern that with us processing new construction eligibility tied to funding applications, that this would have an impact on the small school districts that wanted to submit eligibility so that they could lock that eligibility in place for the next 3 years. So we believe that administratively we can accomplish this by processing the new construction eligibility for the small school districts, and these are the districts that have 2,500 students or less, that we would be able to process that eligibility even if it does not have an associated funding application. But in order to make sure that we're in alignment with the board's decision in the last few weeks, we would begin with the 16-17 enrollment year. We would not be going back retroactively, so we would start with the current year. Districts would be allowed to submit in this year and then in future years if they want to continue to lock it moving forward. We can't guarantee that we will process within the lock period, but at least we can lock in the eligibility, and moving forward, hopefully this will provide a little bit of reassurance to those small school districts that this component of the program is still in effect. We also wanted to remind districts that the state agency approvals do still need to be updated and that they will not lose their place in line for processing while they do that. And a reminder that grant agreements are in effect for this batch of projects that was moved over to the workload list and moving forward. And then as a part of this item, we had gotten a lot of questions on financial hardship, but the action item that the board just approved takes care of that process. So we plan to turn this into an FAQ document that we will be posting on our website with some additional more technical aspects of the program, questions that we're getting, and make this info available to districts so that we can keep going on the processing. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of the staff? Sure, go ahead.
In regards to the small school district lock, we appreciate staff highlighting the process that's aligned with the board's action June 5th, but we do have a concern that we can't guarantee that we're going to process these funding applications for small school districts within the 3-year lock. We would like to ask staff to come back with an action item that will include regulations that will allow us to ensure that these funding applications will be processed within this 3-year lock to maintain this protection that small school districts have had since 2000.
Okay. Any objection to the staff bringing a report back on that item? Okay. Seeing none, we'll ask the staff to do that for the next meeting. And I have a public speaker, I think, on this item, Julie Arthur. Ms. Arthur, is this the item you want to speak on? Please come on up. We don't really, yeah, let's.
Sorry.
Good afternoon, Chairman Ortega, members of the State Allocation Board. As you mentioned, my name is Julie Arthur. I'm the Executive Director of Facilities Planning and Development for Palm Springs Unified School District. But I'm also here today representing CASH as Vice Chair, and I'm here to speak on behalf of our members. The purpose here today is to talk about our concerns and theirs on how districts will be treated in the future. Specifically, we believe that the SAB action on June 5th board meeting approving option 1 is inconsistent to statute. Specifically, statute 170171.75, ongoing eligibility for new construction calculations. It specifically refers to eligibility as being determined in the fiscal year in which the application is submitted. So this adoption of option 1 and the direction of the board to OPSC staff to require the reestablishment of eligibility in the year the project is processed by OPSC, this directive is not consistent with statute. So what we're asking the board to correct this action. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Allen?
Well, I mean, I didn't vote with the majority, so I would presume someone would vote with the majority. I would obviously agree with correcting this, with making a change. I didn't vote with the majority, so I would assume it would take someone from the majority wanting to shift their vote from last month.
Sure. A couple of things. I mean, I don't think that the action we took last meeting is not really what's properly before us on this meeting. The action we took in under tab 5 was to conform it to the trailer bill and to make additional changes. We have in the past had discussions about revisiting past actions. It's not something that we typically do at this board. I'm happy to hear your comments. They're reflective of the comments that you made at the last meeting. So, you know, we're certainly aware of your concerns. I'm happy to let other board members, I know Mr. O'Donnell also did not agree with the past action. I think speaking for my vote, obviously I'm still, you know, in support of the action of the board from the June 5th meeting. So, Mr. O'Donnell?
Yes, thank you. And this may, you know, then we get some Brown Act stuff going on probably too, I imagine. I don't know. But so I don't know that we could exactly do that today. But I just, from my perspective, I'd like to maybe sit down with some of your folks and get more educated on some of the, you know, the legal ramifications or statutes that you've cited, so then I'm fully educated on your perspective as you sit today. So I'm sure we'll have that conversation. Not here,
Right,
but
that would be wonderful.
going forward. Thank you.
I think the other issue that I would raise just in response is that as we discussed it at the last meeting, we talked about having, we didn't have any testimony before us that was from a district who was going to be facing the impact of the action that we took at the meeting. So we were not really clear as to who and when the issue might come up. So I think that's why we took the motion with the direction to staff that they would bring an appeal to the board when the eligibility question caused someone to be disadvantaged in the program. And because the applications have not been processed yet, we haven't reached that point. So I think, I guess from a procedural standpoint, it would make more sense to me for us to also kind of see an actual application be affected by the change that the board approved, and then consider these issues under the appeal. And our counsel is interested in making a comment.
I just want to remind the board that this is not an action item, so as
Right.
much as possible, not to go into discussion.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Just one more comment, piggybacking on my previous comments where I'd like to sit down with you, but also maybe you could bring me some evidence. I thought we did hear some conversation at our last hearing, some comments from districts that were going to impact. I thought mine was, if I recall correctly, Long Beach Unified. So not today, but going forward, I would like to sit down with you, and please come ready to educate me on, you know, the legal ramifications, but also the practical ramifications at the district level from across the state.
Absolutely. So I think most districts right now that will be affected, it's going to be months before they're actually going to have that information and update their eligibility, which does actually take districts several months to do, from collecting their information on tentative track maps to their seabeds, depending on the timing on that. It does take time. And what's going to be processed now, it appears that most of the items that this affects that were on the former acknowledged list, well, those we're actually not going to see processed for some time, as this first bond sale will go to those that were on the unfunded list.
Right.
So we're actually looking at months in this, and that's why we were hoping to have the discussion now. We didn't want to leave this sit. It's something we feel is important as it relates to a lot of districts, especially county offices of education, who are financial hardship itself, looking at how their funding will be determined.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other comments from board members? All right. Any other public comment on this item? Again, this was an informational item. Please have the record reflect that Mr. Diaz and Dr. Pan have joined the meeting. Lisa,
Thank you.
I will, thank you. What I'm going to do is, let's return to the item under tab 5, Lisa Jones, the regulatory amendments for increased program accountability. If you could call the absent members. Yes.
Okay, that would be Senator Pan. How do you vote on the grant agreement, which is under tab 5?
This is the conforming changes to the item from the last meeting.
Thank you. And then Cesar Diaz?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion does carry.
Okay, and then the next open item is the regulatory amendments for the financial hardship program.
Okay. And how do you vote, Senator Pan? Okay. And Cesar Diaz? Thank you.
Okay. And Ms. Silverman, I think that's it for the action items,
That's
right?
The
Okay.
minutes? Or?
Did you want to do the minutes?
Minutes,
The
yeah.
Minutes, sure. The roll is open. All in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye. Aye. So we had a unanimous vote on the minutes. Very important to get that on the record. So the action items are complete for those members who had a 4:30 appointment. And Lisa will return to the executive officer statement.
Yeah, just want to highlight that we
But
shared.
please, I still need 6 people to be here.
It shouldn't take longer than
Yes.
a minute or so.
Yes.
We wanted to share with the board that the charter round closed that day, June 5th, and we actually had a $2.5 billion in applications that came through the door. So it will be a very competitive process, and there's $500 million in the charter program. We also wanted to highlight that the action the board took for the projects moving over with the Prop 51 designation, the true unfunded list, those projects had the ability to submit during the certification round, and we had other projects on the certification round as well. So we had an interest through that closing date of $444 million in applications that are competing for a fall bond sale. So wanted to highlight that to the board. We have a few apportionments that are outstanding for April. We have 9 to be exact, and those projects have until July 24th to come in and perfect. And then the historical building regulations that we've been long waiting for has also been approved by the Office of Administrative Law, and those are in effect as of June 19th, so we'll be moving items instead of having appeals in the consent agenda. And with that, we have a meeting on August 23rd.
All right. And the
There was
status
no
of
consent,
funds?
yeah, there's no consent items. There's nothing to report as far as action items in the financial reports, other than the fund releases. We did want to share that $26.4 million went out in June. And we have the workload report.
Workload items are under tab 6.
Right, and we wanted to highlight there's no activity for July, but we do have a few items slated for August.
Okay.
And one of them noted is the career tech education item.
All right. Any other comments from members? Any public comment on items not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll be adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
We have a great relationship.
Back to the office.